What's going on, guys? This video is going to be predicated on the Democratic debate and and who all I thought did well and won the debate. Now, personally, I think Bernie Sanders won the debate, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a Bernie Sanders fan. Yeah, I'm a fan, but when I'm watching the debate, I'm able to watch it objectively and really see who's able to distinguish themselves from the pack. And he does that time and time again, every single time, always saying, I'm the only one up here who doesn't accept money from billionaires and millionaires and corporations that are ultimately going to, how can I put this, undermine our system incredibly by coming back to me later on and asking for favors. I don't do that. But Joe Biden, you do that. Pete Buttigieg, you do that. And then there was a moment in the debate where Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren, they had this little spar moment where Pete Buttigieg is trying to say, well, hey, Elizabeth, you do the exact same thing. And I mean, what's wrong with it? I want to be the campaign of inclusion and include everybody, and I don't want to shun away anybody, because in this whole entire fighting movement in terms of removing Donald Trump, we're going to need everybody. And to some extent, he's right about that. But the only problem is when those are your main people and main supporters that you're accepting money from, that's essentially bribery, because what do you think is going to happen when you want more money out of them later on? They're going to ask you to do things for them, and they're going to want things to be done. And then especially with the tax code, they're going to want things to be done. So basically, there's an effort right now by the mainstream media to try to prop up Pete Buttigieg and try to help him do well in states like Iowa and New Hampshire, so then it could propel him later on in other states. But Pete Buttigieg, his biggest problem is he suffers with minorities, which are the biggest demographic voting bloc in terms of the Democratic Party. And those are the people that he does the worst with. So how in the world are you going to have a sustainable campaign, let's say if you do so-called win in Iowa or New Hampshire? Which he's leading right now in Iowa. But like I keep saying, a lot of these polls are skewed and they're propped up to try to make some people look well so that they will do well and go on to do well in other states. You can't fall for them, guys. That's why I don't look too deeply into the polls this early, because polls are just a snapshot in time, and they're just telling you what's happening at that point in time among a certain demographic within the populace, not even the populace as a whole. So that's why you can't really just look at polls and just say, oh, that's how the way the election is going to go. If we went by polls and just say that's how the way elections are going to go, like I keep saying, Hillary Clinton would be the president right now, literally. And to some extent, the polls weren't wrong. Like as I always say, they weren't wrong. She did exactly what she had to do. But when you have an electoral college, that's a problem. See, Bernie Sanders was beating Donald Trump on election day by over 12 points. By over 12 points, and Hillary Clinton was only beating him by 4 points. And like I keep saying, she did what she did. She won the popular vote by over 3 million votes. She did exactly what she did. But she just couldn't end up pulling off a victory in terms of the electoral college, in terms of those states bringing out the base of the Democratic Party. She failed and sucked at doing that. Bernie Sanders enthusiastically engages younger voters and brings them out into the process, into the political process, something that they never thought that they would actually even be doing, but he brings them out and then they start doing it. But yeah, and I'm gonna be smoking this video. I'm smoking a Garcia Vega. So, but anyway, yeah. But yeah, Bernie was able to distinguish himself from the pack, and he was able to just say a lot of things like that. And Elizabeth Warren, her whole entire campaign has been dismal. It's been, quite frankly, disappointing, because now she's starting to back away from Medicare for All in a complete U-turn. At first, I was saying how you basically had to read through the lines and read through what she was saying, but now she's just saying it. She believes there should be a choice. And if you believe there should be a choice, that means you still believe in the private insurance industry, which is an atrocity, just to put it candidly and lightly. But yeah, she keeps saying that she believes in an option in terms of Medicare for All, and how you have to leave that onto the table and things of that nature, so people can just try it out. And then later on, she'll ask Congress in her 3rd or 4th year to go ahead and let's do Medicare for All. That's the most horriblest plan I've ever heard in my life, because if you wait to do that in midterm elections, oftentimes the party out of power, in many cases that are not in the White House, the party out of power, they usually gain control in Congress. So she's going to wait until Republicans basically seize back control in Congress unilaterally, damn near, if they were to take back the House, which I hope to God they don't in 2022. But that's ultimately what she'll be waiting for. So then when they take back control of Congress, she can say, well, the Republicans, they won't let me do it. They won't let me do it, just to buy herself more time and to probably get herself reelected if she were to even win an election, period. And what's happening now is Bernie Sanders is getting smeared by people like Barack Obama. And Obama put out this statement at an event he did. He basically said that old white men shouldn't be still in the political system and trying to control it and run it. And people are like, are you talking about Bernie or are you talking about Joe Biden? Because you can't be talking about Joe, so you have to be talking about Bernie. But, I mean, and I know he can't be talking about Elizabeth, but at this point in time, he probably is talking about Elizabeth. And the problem with Elizabeth Warren and her campaign is the moderates of her campaign are telling her to back away from Medicare for All because of the possible anticipation of an Obama endorsement. And I believe that is being naive and that's being arrogant, especially when you haven't even solidified the progressive base of your movement. And it's almost an insult and a slap to our face, really. But yeah, she keeps doing it. She keeps pandering to the moderates and she keeps trying to please her Democratic donors who are now apparently full-fledged influencing her decisions and the way she goes about policy. It's really an atrocity with such a bright mind in terms of the progressive movement, but now she's teetering to the moderates and the people who don't want to fundamentally see the system drastically change for the greater good. And Pete Buttigieg, the problem with Buttigieg is, and the media is getting on my nerves about this whole entire Buttigieg mania. He's a racist gay man, which doesn't even make sense, but it's just the truth because there in his city of Indiana, in South Bend, Indiana, he has covered up numerous crimes committed by his own police department in terms of race relations. He fired his black police chief because of talk of misconduct and wrongdoing by police officers on the force, recordings of police officers on the force using racist rhetoric towards black people, hardcore racist rhetoric, calling black people the N-word, and numerous other things that I just can't really say off the top of my head right now. But he covered that whole situation up. And not only did he cover that up, but he covered up a situation of where a black teen was hanging from a tree. A black teen was hanging from a tree. And he ultimately did nothing about it. The mother asked him for help, pleaded with him for help in terms of figuring out what happened and what can they do to go about the situation to make it better. And Pete Buttigieg ultimately ignored her and did nothing about it. And in some ways, covered it up. And he's running for the presidency. It fucks me up, really. It really does. He wonders why black people talks to him the way they do. You can look it up online. Like, the black people in his own city hate him. But yet he's running for president. But yeah, Bernie, he clearly won the debate, and you can say, well, Bernie sounds repetitive. He says the same stuff over and over again. He's saying the same stuff over and over again because he's trying to get it to resonate with more and more people and get it to resonate with you so you can possibly understand what he's saying. He wants to redistribute wealth in this country, starting with Medicare for All in terms of making sure that every single person never has to pay a single penny when they have a health concern. And what that does is not only socialize medicine, but it ultimately starts to socialize taxes, and the tax code will start to become truly fair for everybody, because what it does is go straight after the income tax in which you're making from your employer or your business that you possibly own yourself, so that we can have socialized things in this country, such as socialized medicine. But Barack Obama, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, virtually everybody running against Bernie Sanders does not believe in that. They don't want to see that type of system change. They believe in it and they want it to stay the same because it's a system that has benefited them and their donors and people who, quite frankly, just don't want to see the system change. That's a problem. That's a deep problem in America. And now Bernie Sanders is only 6 points behind Joe Biden in the national polls for the presidency of the United States. Bernie Sanders is the number one person in this race right now. The polls can't really track it or keep up with it. But the fact that he's this close to Biden already, and we're not even in Iowa yet. Joe Biden is about to, how can I put this? He's about to politically rewrite the history books on his career, not for the good, but for the worse, because Joe Biden has really been a detriment to our society ever since taking public office. He's done some good things that can't be taken away from him, but at the same time, he has been a nuisance upon the greater masses of America. Bernie Sanders has been fighting for the same things for nearly half a century. That's commitment right there. Bernie Sanders was a part of the civil rights movement, literally getting arrested for black people, getting beaten and arrested for black people. That speaks volumes for me. While at the same time, Joe Biden was in Congress fighting against busing with segregationists. You just have to decide. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't even close. Like Bernie, he was just spanking them on everything, like literally everything. Now, this is one thing I'll probably say if I were advising Bernie Sanders. He just has to be more aggressive and assertive. Whenever he does get his time to speak, he's going to simply use that as a time and a moment to campaign on what he believes in and what he wants to get done that's going to affect you, the person watching. And that's the way he debates, and that's why he's rising in the polls, and that's why he keeps winning all these debates. Now, the mainstream media will tell you that other people are winning, like Amy Klobuchar, who is one of the last people in terms of polling on the stage. How she's even still on the debate stage, I don't know, but she's still up there because they want her to do well. And they continuously have her on CNN and various other networks interviewing her, asking her about her ideas when her ideas suck. They literally suck. There's nothing going to happen. Nothing's going to change. All she's going to do is focus on foreign policy and neoliberalism politics. That's going to fail us. And they wonder why Joe Biden is doing bad himself. Someone who is supposed to be the epiphany of a Barack Obama, the epiphany of Hillary Clinton, who's supposed to be better. He's not. Joe Biden sucks himself. But let them tell it that's our best hope in terms of beating Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders on election day 2016 was beating Donald Trump by 12 points. Just imagine that in terms of actual numbers.